Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we're looking at two true stories about people who tried to take complete control of their own destiny. They planned everything, down to the last detail, only to find out that fate sometimes has a pretty twisted sense of humor. Okay, so let's really get into that question. What happens? We're going to do that by digging into two historical accounts where this intense, passionate chase for a dream, well, it led straight to an unbelievable catastrophe. All right, our first story kicks off way back in 1826. We're in New Hampshire's White Mountains. Gorgeous place, but also incredibly dangerous. And at the center of it all is a man named Samuel Willie Jr. Now, Sam, he was not interested in just being a farmer. He looked at this incredible landscape all around his isolated home. These towering peaks always covered in mist. And he saw something else entirely. He saw a gold mine. He pictured it as this bustling hub for creative types, a place people would write about for years to come. But that dream was almost dead on arrival. A huge, catastrophic storm hits, the river floods, and a rock slide just rips down the side of the mountain, barely, and I mean barely, missing his house. His land was a total wreck, and his wife Polly was just completely terrified. So instead of packing it in, Sam just doubled down. He promised his wife he could beat the mountain. He said he wasn't just going to fix their home. No, he was going to build a fortress, a shelter so tough it could handle anything nature or fate decided to throw at them. And, this incredible determination, it's really the heart of the whole tragedy. So let's take a look at exactly what he did. For 2 straight months, Sam and his crew worked like mad. But he wasn't just patching things up. He was trying to engineer absolute safety. He was mapping out disaster plans, totally convinced that with enough hard work, he could protect both his family and his big dream. And then another storm hit, and this one was a monster, way worse than the first. The rain was just coming down in sheets, thunder was shaking the house right down to its foundations, and the river started to rage almost immediately. Right in the middle of the night, Sam hears this sudden, explosive crash. And it's not thunder. He's instantly convinced that his reinforced barn has just been flattened and that the house is about to go. So in this moment of just pure gut-wrenching panic, thinking all his work was for nothing, he makes the one decision that changes everything. The next day, a traveler stumbles onto the property and finds just total devastation. The barn is barely standing. The fields are buried. But the Willie family home? It was perfect, completely untouched, not a single broken window. But the family? They were gone. And this is where we get to the gut punch, the devastating irony of it all. See that giant boulder behind the house? The thing Sam probably saw as the biggest threat? It turned out to be their silent guardian. When that avalanche of rock and mud came tearing down the mountain, the boulder acted like a perfect shield, splitting the slide right down the middle so it flowed harmlessly around both sides of the house. So tragically, in that frantic panic to escape a danger he only thought was coming, Sam led his entire family, his wife, their 5 kids, and 2 hired hands, out of the one and only safe place on the entire mountain and straight into the path of the landslide. Okay, let's shift gears now. We're moving from a tragedy of nature to a tragedy of human nature. We're heading to 17th century Paris, a city that was, believe it or not, secretly running on poison. So I want you to meet Marie Bosse. She was a total self-made woman, one of the top fortune tellers in a city that had over 400 of them. Her clients were the elite. We're talking royalty, the wives of powerful officials. And she was this close to pulling off her dream, making enough cash to retire rich and never work again. But Marie had a secret, much more profitable side business. And one night, she's at a dinner party trying to drum up more business, and she gets, well, very drunk. Fueled by a little too much wine and a whole lot of ego, she starts bragging about her real work, selling custom-made poisons. And the guests? They're all laughing, thinking it's the funniest joke they've ever heard. And you can just see how quickly her whole world came crashing down. One of the guests noticed that the party's hostess looked absolutely furious, and he started to think, wait a minute, maybe these aren't jokes. So he goes to the police. The police then send in an undercover agent posing as a wife trying to escape an abusive husband. Marie not only reads her palm, she hands her a little bottle of poison. And just like that, her fate was sealed. But Marie's arrest wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning. Under torture, she started talking, and her confession kicked off this massive citywide scandal that came to be known as the Poison Affair. It went on for 3 years. It brought down hundreds of people, from regular housewives all the way up to the highest levels of the French court, even reaching the king's own mistress.
Her big boast, the one she thought would impress clients and finally secure her retirement, well, it led directly to this. She was the very first person executed in the whole affair, burned alive in front of a huge crowd in a public square in Paris.
So finally, let's pull these two stories back together and just look at the chillingly similar ways their biggest dreams actually came true. I mean, this table just lays it all out perfectly. Sam Willie did make his home a famous destination, but only as the site of his family's horrifying death. And Marie Boss's boast, the one she made to lock in her financial freedom, it made her infamous, all right, and led straight to her own public execution. They both got what they wanted, just in the most terrible way imaginable.
It just shows you this razor-thin line between careful planning and tragic oversight, doesn't it? Sam Willie planned for everything except the possibility that his fortifications would actually work. Marie Boss planned her entire future but completely missed the danger of one single boast. And it really leaves you wondering, right? Is our fate decided by our grand, meticulous plans, or is it all down to the one tiny detail we just happen to miss?